guys! I'm super excited today because today I have finally finished playing through Mass Effect Andromeda! And yet, it's bittersweet, because I had to borrow a friend's Xbox One to play the game, which means that now I finished I have to give it back, which means that I can't replay the game again until I get one of my very own. All of y'all know, if you pay any attention at all, that Bioware trash right here. And Mass Effect 2 is not only my favorite Mass Effect game, but my favorite game of all time. Now before we get started, I just want to say that this is my review, and as such it is going to be heavily opinionated. And it's also going to be full of spoilers. We are here to talk about the whole game and my experiences with it. I'm not here to tell you whether or not you should play the game. I'm not here to speak for all gamers, or even all Mass Effect fans. This was just my experience and personal thoughts as I was playing through the game. Hopefully this review will not go on for too long. I have a lot of stuff to talk about, you guys. First of all, I want to clear one thing up. While I do have a lot of criticisms of this game, I still had a really fun time playing it, and I wanted to keep playing it. There's missions yet undone in that game that I kind of still want to go back and do. It was still a really great time and a fun addition to the Mass Effect universe. Now, let's take it apart, shall we? The first and last thing I noticed about this game is that there is so much to do. It's a lot more open world than any other Mass Effect game, which is good and bad. At a certain point, I felt like there was too much to do. Every time I went to a new planet, it was fun to see all those new missions pop up, but after a while, seeing new missions constantly appearing and the feeling of never-ending chores really got to me. So by the end, I was ridiculously over-leveled. Something else I didn't really like all that much was being tethered to the Nomad. I don't play a Mass Effect game for the driving. That's like the farthest from why I play a Mass Effect game. On many of the planets, while it makes sense for the story, you are forced to be tethered to your vehicle, at least for the first portion of the planet, while you succeed in making it viable and more livable. What is helpful for you feeling like you're accomplishing something on that planet. It was really annoying going to a new planet and not feeling like I was truly able to explore it because I was tethered to this vehicle that I was forced to drive around. However, I did really enjoy all of the planets and I liked exploring them. A big problem that I had, especially at the beginning of the game until I kind of got a better hang of it, was figuring out what quest I was on, what icon I should be following. The menus in this game were kind of confusing to navigate, and figuring out where the next quest icon was pointing me was especially challenging when I started out. I got good at it eventually, but it was not very intuitive and in fact rather frustrating. A lot of people have been praising this game for the gameplay and the way that it's different and more exciting and dynamic than previous Mass Effect games. Now granted, you don't have to try very hard to be better than Mass Effect 1, but I actually thought Mass Effect 3 was pretty much perfect for me personally as far as gameplay. I'm one of those people who I prefer to sit back and take pot shots with my sniper rifle while my team runs up and does the heavy hitting, and while I eventually got there in this game, starting out I was really forced to move around and figure out the jump jet fighting system, and once I didn't have to use my jump jets in a fight anymore, I stopped. This also reminds me of another thing that I had a lot of trouble with, and that is the platforming in this game. I also don't come to Mass Effect for platforming. Anyone who's seen me game knows that I am shit at platforming, and I don't think the platforming in this game was particularly good to begin with, so you throw those two things together and you have a recipe for me falling off of every ledge I find. Ryder only grabs onto the ledge about 50% of the time. Sometimes Ryder is perfectly content to rocket jump into the air and then watch formlessly as the ledge floats on by as they then fall into a pit of acid. Ryder tends to move a little bit further at the end of, say, running running or moving or jumping, and so I'll be trying to make a precise jump or movement and Ryder will just walk her ass right off the edge of whatever I'm standing on. A big problem that I was having, and I'm hearing little bits and pieces from other people who are also playing this game, is glitches, and for me, they were game-breaking glitches. Several times I had to reload to be able to complete a quest because the game was not registering. I had one of these very early on at my very first monolith, and I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong, and I finally reloaded and realized it wasn't me. It was the game. Most of the time a reload would solve the problem, but I encountered two that did not, one of which was the game refused to allow me to complete PB's side mission, just would not do it. I looked up the glitch online and apparently it's a really common one, and for most people a reload solves it, but I reloaded so many times and it would not let me complete that mission, so I had to finish the game without PB's loyalty mission completed. Another glitch that both myself and my friend have encountered is when you finally get to movie night and you've been building up to the stupid movie night with your team for so long, and then in the final scene of it, you're sitting there on the couch with your love interest, except you're not. Ryder is missing, and your love interest is sitting there with their arm around no one. Both of us have had this glitch, and reloading does not seem to solve it. The dialogue options in this game felt a lot more limited, and that made me really sad. Gone are the Renegade and Paragon options, which I guess is fine, but it really felt like it gave you more options and more to say and much more to work towards, because if you got Renegade or Paragon points, you had different options available to you. Now apparently I have heard that there's two different options most of the time, and one of them has a harsher tone, one of them has a gentler tone, and whatever tone your character is more likely to take is kind of the tone that the lines will have throughout the story, which is fine, but I would rather have more different and varying dialogue options and more questions that I can ask people than I would having a slightly different tone for some of the things that I say. Now this may be something that is personal to me because many people have complained that Bioware games are too wordy and there's too much talking and characters just go on and on, but that's one of the reasons I actually love Bioware games. I love to be able to delve deep into these characters and just ask them a million questions and find out every little thing about them and their culture and everything in the world. I want that. Because of the limited dialogue options, it also feels like there's much more limited just options in general. At the end of big quests, you're usually given an either-or choice, and you only have two options no matter what you do. Something I loved about, say, Dragon Age Origins is there was always a third option hidden somewhere in the text if you were willing to look for it. If you kept a character talking long enough, you could probably uncover a third option that you hadn't at first noticed. The interrupt commands that you also got in this game were few and far between, and they felt a lot more pointless. I never understood exactly why I was doing them. Since we're getting a little bit more into dialogue options, let's talk about the dialogue that you have with your crewmates. This game boasts a lot of writing. I forget exactly what the statistics were, but apparently there is more writing in this game than there has been in any other Mass Effect game, and that's great, except for most of it comes in the form of inane chatter in the background, instead of actual, conversations that you can have with your teammates and people that you care about. I would say I felt, at least, like the level of conversations I had with my teammates were on par with the ones I had in Mass Effect 1, which feels like a huge step back from where we were in Mass Effect 2 and 3. But that, to me, just says that these new characters should have even more dialogue with them and more scenes with them as you get to know them, because these are new characters that Bioware wants us to become attached to and will probably continue on into future games, I'm assuming. Especially in an open world game like this, where great swaths of playtime can go by in relative silence as you're driving around on planets. Sure, there's a little party banter, but I always manage to activate something and skip half of it, which is really frustrating. But let's say you've been dragging your ass around a planet for hours and hours, and you've probably even completed some main missions, and then you go back to your ship hoping that some of your crewmates will have some new things to say to you, but they don't. When I was playing Dragon Age Inquisition, which is also a lot more of an open world game, I felt like I could go back to Skyhold and most of my allies would have new things to say to me. And it would vary, not everybody had something new to say every time, but it would be worth it to wander around Skyhold to find out. So often in Mass Effect Andromeda, I spent time roaming around my ship talking to everyone only to discover that nobody had anything new to talk about. If you didn't guess by the fact that Mass Effect 2 is my favorite game, I love a character-driven story, and I was really disappointed with the amount we got from these characters in this game. I thought some of the alien designs in this game were really kind of lazy. Both the Ket and the Angara struck me as lazily designed. I like the look of the Angara, but they're not hugely all that alien. In fact, to me the Turians look more alien. That was probably intentional so you could feel less weird for being attracted to Jal, but I want my aliens to look alien. And the cat, this is a problem I frequently had, look really similar to both Vetra and Jal, who are my go-to teammates when you're in battle, so I was constantly accidentally shooting my buddies thinking that they were a cat. I felt like all of my choices lacked impact within this game, and I really hope that it matters somewhere down the line, because otherwise it was like, why does it matter what I say? It clearly does not. While I was a little bit disappointed by the Angara overall, especially the way that they behaved very human-like, but I did like what little bit of culture they were given, including their family structure, which is really fascinating to me. It was also hilarious because I grew up in a fairly large family, not 13 kids mind you, but there were 7 of us. And so Jal talking about growing up with this family, I was like, I feel ya. I've been there. I don't know how I feel yet about the similarities between what the villains are doing in this game and what the villains were doing in the original Mass Effect games. We've got a lot of the same body horror, the enemy is us stuff that was happening in Mass Effect, the original series, I guess I'm gonna call it. At first maybe I thought it was only the Angara that were going to be harvested by the Ket, but then we started getting Ket plus Krogan, and I was like, you know what, this is just the original Mass Effect all over again. Now, of course, the conspiracy theorist inside me wants to link the games together so that the Ket have something to do with the Reapers, and if they don't, I won't be surprised, but I'll be a little bit disappointed, and I'm sure there is fanfiction and fan theories going on right now. A lot of people have complained about the writing in this game, but I felt like it was pretty par for the course for a Bioware game. The writing was very Bioware-y, if you will. There were a few cringy lines here and there, and the way that characters delivered them would occasionally be inappropriate to the emotions that were necessary for the scene, but overall, it's not as bad as everyone's making it out to be. Some characters are worse offenders than others. Some characters, like PB, the game really drives home what their personality is supposed to be, while other characters, like Vetra, you're allowed to get to know a lot more slowly as they come out of their shells. Jane is here. This is Jane. The cat they call Jane. So I felt like the ending of the game was appropriately hectic gameplay-wise, but story-wise it was a little bit disappointing, especially when it just cut to credits. Yeah, you got an epilogue that was kind of fun, but the abrupt cut to credits really just kind of made me laugh. One scene I will forever love, though, because it reminded me of Galaxy Quest. When they figure out that they can bring the Scourge in on the enemy, all I could think was, what you fail to realize is that my ship is dragging mines. As for Ryder as a character herself, I'm going to refer to Ryder as a she because I played a female Ryder. I like the dynamic that could be created between Ryder as a hero and Shepard as a hero, Shepard being the experienced badass and Ryder being the relative newbie. I really liked playing up that aspect with my Ryder, definitely making her very starry-eyed and prone to leaping before she looked. However, I wish that that was a larger part of the game and more people did something with that. At the end of the game, everyone's all congratulating you because, oh, you know, we didn't believe you could do it, but here you pulled it out. Except for at the beginning of the game, very few people actually don't believe you can do it. Pretty much everyone believes that you can pathfind your ass out there and get the job done. At the beginning of the game, I was almost shouting at people like, why do you trust me? I have not the experience for this. I wish a lot more of the game had involved Ryder earning their stripes and really earning the trust of everyone, not just, say, the Angara. What I don't understand is why you can't have your Ryder sibling as a party member. You could still have the ending. The ending could be exactly the same, just find a reason for your sibling to not be able to go with you. Maybe they have to hold down the fort somewhere else, like at the Nexus. I was really excited when I heard there were going to be sibling characters. One of my favorite parts of Dragon Age 2 was when we got to hang out with our sibling at the very beginning of the game. And I was really hopeful that we would get that, but all game long with Mass Effect Andromeda. Unfortunately, Mass Effect Andromeda was like, no, you have a sibling, but he is just unconscious. You know, I would have felt like it was even more intense if he'd been with me this entire time and we had been dealing with all of this family stuff that was crashing down on both of us. Wouldn't that have been amazing? Maybe your sibling could be a little bit upset that you got to be the Pathfinder and they didn't. Maybe you could come together as siblings to realize that being the Pathfinder kind of sucks and move past all of that and work together, and wouldn't that have been a great arc? But no, instead you got a sibling who's on ice most of the game. Let's talk about Sam. First of all, I have a little bit of a voice crush on Sam, and I secretly want there to be a Sam romance sometime in the future. Is that weird? The other thing about Sam was that I completely do not trust him. Even though the game 100% wants you to trust Sam and makes him as useful as possible every turn, I was still like, there's a VI in my head who can stop my heart whenever he wants. No! What if somebody downloads a virus into Sam? All of a sudden, I could just be dead. Just walking along, dead. Thanks, writer dad. Overall, the romances in this game reminded me again of Mass Effect 1 in that they were a lot more shallow and we got very few romance scenes. I romanced Jal. One reason because it felt like my writer would want to have sex with an alien for science. Science. And also because I figured he would be one of the ones who got the best treatment as far as romance storyline went. Even his romance felt really shallow, and the few little romance scenes I had with him were very short. Although that sex scene surprised me in a good way. I've heard things about the other romances that they vary in quality, but overall I'm gonna say that I'm kind of disappointed with all of them. I think what really would have helped if they had had a little bit more of personal arcs. I know they have personal quests, but I'm a writer, I write books, and what makes characters interesting to read about is when they are not always getting along. You don't have to have them fighting like cats and dogs, but personality conflicts and overcoming them really let you get to know the characters better. And in fact, in Mass Effect 2, there is some of that when certain characters definitely don't get along. Now, Mass Effect 2 didn't do it perfectly, but in this game, only 2 of the characters on your ship didn't get along. I really would have loved some scenes with some cultural misunderstandings, or other arguments or tiffs that were happening on my ship that I could mediate as their captain type person thing. Plus, at the end, when characters are kind of telling me that, hey, I used to be one way and now thanks to you I'm another way, I would believe them because right now it felt like they were the same way all the way through. Jay, where are you going? Where are you going? He's pathfinding. But I'm sure you want to know which characters I actually liked and which I didn't. Well, I overall liked them all, but the only ones that I actually loved and felt a real connection with were freaking Drac, who is awesome, and can he please be my granddaddy? I want a big, scary Krogan grandfather. That scene in the medbay, I was tearing up. Legit. More of those kind of scenes, please. And I really also quite liked Vetra. I know this seems weird that I'm not even really mentioning the character that I romanced. I did like Joe, but he didn't speak to me in the way I was hoping. And so next time I definitely think I am gonna romance Vetra. I also really liked our Solarian pilot, but then again, I love Solarians, so I connected with him immediately. Overall, all the other members of my crew were fine, but there was never a real deep urge on my part to, say, write fanfic about them. There were several characters that were not on board my ship that I also quite enjoyed, but this would be a really long video if I list them all here. One thing that did really surprise me was that a lot of people were saying that they hated PB as a character, and I never understood why. Maybe it was my inability to finish her side quest, maybe she turned into a real jackass after that. My writer and PB actually got along pretty well. I don't understand the hate. If someone wants to explain it to me in the comments section below, that's fine. Just be nice, be a jackass. It's the rules. So overall, what did I think of Mass Effect Andromeda? I know I had a lot of complaints about it, but I really did enjoy playing it, and I'm sad that it's over and I won't be able to start replaying it right away again. It reminded me the most of Mass Effect 1, which makes sense because it's kind of supposed to be rebooting the franchise so we can start over, but it also had some of the downsides of Mass Effect 1 that I thought we had moved past. I am really interested on how and if it is going to tie into the original Mass Effect games. I haven't even really talked about the villain, but that's because I found him highly unimpressive and I hope they do more with it in the future. So yeah, comment below and let me know what your thoughts are. Feel free, if you're interested, to watch my top 10 favorite and top 10 least favorite Bioware characters videos. They don't include Andromeda characters because the game wasn't quite out yet when I made them. If you are interested in a top 10 list of anything from Mass Effect Andromeda from me, let me know. Remember, everyone, that I post new videos Mondays and Fridays, at least right now. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys again next time with whatever it is we happen to be doing next time. Bye!